Hey, what's up? This is Reed. I'm going to show you how these little NFC tags can trigger automations around your home. NFC, or Near Field Communication, has been around for a while, but finding the information on how it fits into the smart home is not that easy. I'll show you some NFC automation ideas and explain how it works on both Android and iOS, plus how to use NFC with IFTTT, SmartThings, and Home Assistant. At the end, I'll get a little bit more advanced, so if you think you can handle it, make sure to stick around. One of the common questions I see is why even use NFC tags in the first place? We already have buttons, switches, and sensors that you can use for home automation. It's a great question, and let me explain with a few examples. Say you're in the backyard and you want the lights to turn on and music to start playing. Using an NFC tag to do this is quick and ideal. NFC tags are great for outdoors because they don't require power and are waterproof. If you had a smart button instead, it probably wouldn't survive outside. An outdoor motion sensor could turn on the lights, but you probably wouldn't use it to play music because that would get annoying. Another example is having an NFC tag unlock your door. It's secure because it only works on your phone, plus it's more accurate and reliable than a presence sensor. You can also use them on your way out the door to set your system in away mode, or in your car to automatically pull up Google Maps for your commute to work. Another idea is to track tasks like feeding your dog or taking your medication. Since it can run different automations depending on whose phone it is, you can run specific routines if you walk into the room.
Good morning, Reed. It's nice to see you.
Versus your spouse with the same NFC tag. You could even have it automatically check traffic on the way home from work and message your spouse when you'll be home based on the traffic. Basically, anything that a switch or a button can do around your smart home, an NFC tag can do as well. The only thing is that an NFC tag is a fraction of the price and you don't have to replace the batteries. I'll link below the NFC tags that I'm using. They all work with iOS and Android. Okay, now I'll show you how to start setting these up on the phones. On iOS, use the Shortcuts app from Apple. The NFC tag automations only work on iPhone XS and later, so if you're using an older iPhone and it's not working, that's why. If you have Android, the best option in my opinion is an app called Tasker. It does cost $3 or $4, but I think it's worth it because it can do way more than I'll cover in this video. You'll see as I show both iOS and Android, each have their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to NFC automations, and it's important to know if you're considering switching in the future. On iOS, it's really simple to set up an NFC automation. In the Shortcuts app, click on Automation at the bottom, and then the Add button up top. Select Create Personal Automation, then scroll down and choose NFC. Scan the tag and give it a name that will help you remember the tag. Now you can add actions. Click on the apps to run things from your smart home apps. You can control HomeKit devices, and this is so simple to set up, and I give props to Apple for making it so easy. Most other smart home apps are missing, but there are a few. Casa and LifeX are there to change your lights, Bond for my fans, and Hue Sync. Maybe more will be added later. You also have access to view and add iOS reminders, which you may use to complete tasks like I mentioned earlier. Apple or Google Maps are available for directions or commute times. Quick tip, if you want to use Google Maps, don't select it because you'll have less options. Instead, select Location, then change the map to Google. You can play Apple Music, but not Spotify. If you go back and select Scripting, there are more options to control Bluetooth and more advanced features that I'll cover in a minute. To set this up on Android, I'm using Tasker as I mentioned. It's nowhere near as user-friendly as Apple's Shortcuts though. To set up an NFC automation, go to the Profiles tab and click on the plus button in the bottom right. Select Event and search for NFC tag. Select the magnifying glass on the left for ID and scan the NFC tag. Then it'll ask you to format the tag. Keep the phone near the tag and say yes. This makes the Tasker app automatically pull up when the NFC tag is scanned. Click the back arrow, then the New Task button that appears next to the newly created profile and select the checkbox. Now select the plus button to add a task. You can select things like Location and Open Map. That can pull up the directions on Google Maps when scanning the NFC tag. There's also Media to play music, which can start playing Spotify if you have that. Tasker cannot automatically use an app to perform tasks like you can with iOS shortcuts. For example, the closest you can get to adding a reminder or task is using an app shortcut that will open a new task but won't actually add it. However, there's still a lot more you can control on the phone itself with Tasker. Okay, what if you want to use NFC to control smart home devices that are not compatible with iOS shortcuts or Tasker? If you do not have a hub, then IFT is an option. It's not my favorite one because of the monthly fees, but I'll show you how to use it anyways. Create an applet and select webhooks as your IFT trigger. Give it an event name and copy it because you'll need it in a second. After you make the applet, go to the webhooks service page and click on documentation. Type in the event name you just created and copy the URL. In iOS, click on Web for the action in the Shortcuts app. Scroll down and select Get Contents of URL and paste the URL you just copied. Then you're done. On Android, select Net as the action category in Tasker. Then select HTTP request and then paste the URL. That's it for IFT. When you scan the NFC tag, it will call the IFT applet and control the devices you connect to it. Now for SmartThings, it's similar, but you have two options with Android. First, there's a plugin to Tasker called SharpTools that can control your SmartThings devices. The SharpTools plugin also costs a few bucks, but it makes it pretty easy. If you want to integrate with SmartThings and not pay for SharpTools, it's easy to do with WebCore. All you have to do is pull up WebCore and click on Settings, then the Integrations tab. Here you'll get the URL endpoint. This is very similar to the webhooks for IFT. It's basically an API endpoint that you can call. Replace the piston ID with the name of the piston. Copy the URL with the piston name in the URL. Click on Net as the action category in Tasker and select HTTP request. Paste the URL and you're good to go. This is also the only way that I know of to get SmartThings to work with the iOS Shortcuts app. Click on Web for the action, scroll down and select Get Contents of URL, and paste the WebCore URL with the piston name in it. If you use Home Assistant, it's a bit easier to set up than the other options. If you're on Android, you can just use the Home Assistant app. Click on Configuration and Tags. Add a new one, give it a name and select Create and Write. Click on the little robot icon to configure the automation. On iOS, there's also a Home Assistant app, but I use the Shortcuts app to trigger the NFC action. Select the Home Assistant app from the Shortcuts actions, then select Fire Event. Give the event name something you'll remember, preferably something without spaces. Then in Home Assistant, select Configuration and create an automation. For the trigger, select Event and paste in the event name you added in the Shortcuts app to the event type. Add your actions and you'll be up and running. For Google and Amazon Assistants, unfortunately, there's really not a good option out there right now. You'll have to use a hub or IFT to control more devices with NFC. Now, if you want to do some advanced NFC automations, the iOS Shortcuts app is pretty powerful, so let me show you a few things. First, the idea I mentioned earlier. Let's say you're driving home from work and you want to send a message to your spouse, letting them know you're driving home and how long it will be based on traffic. Select location and then get travel time. Type in your destination address, and I would keep the current location selected so if the NFC tag is in your car, you can use it in any location. Click on the plus button and select Messages and send a message. You'll see it already defaults to adding the travel time in the message. I added a few extra words to keep things from getting repetitive. Then when you're getting into your car to head home, it's one less thing you have to do. You could also have your thermostat turn on early, pull up Google Maps right away, and start playing music. If you want to have your NFC tag do different tasks depending on what time of day it is, that's an option as well. This is easy to do with a hub, but if you're using just the Shortcuts app or HomeKit, then you'll need to do this. Click Add, then search for Date. Next, select Scripting and choose Get Numbers from Input. Select the date in the Get Numbers From and change the date format to Custom. In the custom format, change it to HH. This is the hours in the day up to 24 hours. Then select Scripting again and If. For the condition, you can select Is in Between. That way, if you want the lights to be cool during the day, select 10 to 18 or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Otherwise, it will make the lights warm when they are turned on from the NFC tag. I think NFC tags are really useful. The less I have to interact with apps on my phone, the better. And hopefully you found this video helpful. If you want to see more smart home and automation videos, then make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Hey, where did my NFC stickers go?
Look, Dad, polka dots.
Oh, hey, wait right there. I need to turn off the lights. Hold still.